Scale is used just like as a proportion or ratio. I want to describe it. For instance, scale says if 1 inch, that's supposed to be a 1 right there. If 1 inch equals 10 miles on a map, then how much would 2 inches be worth on the map? And 2 inches on the map, someone might say, well, if that's 2 inches, or if that's 1 inch, and that's 1 inch, well, it's the same as saying, well, that's 10 miles, and that's also 10 miles. So 2 inches would represent 20 miles. And I would agree. So if we have 2 inches, that's equal to 20 miles. That's really what scale says. Proportions are the same thing. Ratios are the same thing. It says this is equal to that. And then you use that ratio or that information in order to grow it or make it smaller. So most of the time, you can just do this mathematically. So if we understand that 1 inch, again, equals 10 miles, then if I give you 6 inches, how many miles is that? And hopefully you would say, well, that's 60 miles. So what this does is you're using your proportion equation here to solve. Again, remember, you have to show a relationship, right? And we have to make sure we fill this out correctly. So we have to make sure that the tops of the proportion equation are the same, and they are both inches. That means the bottoms are going to be both miles, and they are. And remember, the relationship on the left, it has to be that ratio, that relationship, where 1 inch is 10 miles, and they have to go together. After that, you can cross multiply and go ahead and then divide. Let's do a math problem. Let's look at this first one down here. This first one says, if you have a ratio of 2 to 4 of cups to gallons, then how many cups would you have if you had 30 gallons? Now again, you don't have to use your proportion equation, though it is helpful. It's helpful when you don't have exactly whole number multiples. For instance, let me give you an idea. So if we had 2 cups, and that's equal to 4 gallons. And then I say, well, how much would 30 gallons be? Well, how many 4s is that? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. Uh-oh, watch this. Another 4 would get me to 32, but I only have to get to 30. So that's what I mean about whole multiples. So whole multiples of 4, that's not going to be a whole multiple to get to 30. Now, if what I just said kind of confused the heck out of you, don't worry. Now let's try putting it in the proportion equation, okay? First off, you got to remember that whatever goes on top has to be the same. I usually tell students whatever's first, that 2, use it first. Now, that's cups. That means this has to be cups. This is gallons. That means this has to be gallons. And then we have 30. That goes here because it's gallons. That means that's our missing. Now, let's go ahead and cross multiply. 2 times 30, x times 4. Or here, let me write that another way because that can freak people out if I do that. Uh-oh, I'm about to do it again the same way there. How's that? All right, cool. Let's keep going. So check it out. If 2 times 30 is equal to 60, I'm going to write this down here if that's okay. And then 4 times x is still equal to 4 times x. So the next step would be to divide. So we want to take the 60 and we want to divide it by 4. Now, if we take 60 and divide it by 4, that's not going to go in evenly, okay? So let's go ahead and look at our calculator. Let me go ahead and pull up our official GED calculator. Give me one moment. Okay, let me bring it over here. Okay, and the math problem was actually 60 divided by 4. Look at that. Uh-oh, ooh, that was nice. So 60 divided by 4 is 15. So that's 15. Let me go ahead and squish this over here, and then let's talk about it. So 60 divided by 4 is 15. Yay. So this is exactly how you would do this. So a lot of times students have the hardest part is actually making sure that they fill out their proportion equation correctly. Okay, so let's try one more, just in case. Number 2, 2 inches equal to 8 miles. And how many miles would be 8.5 inches on the map? So again, you can use your proportion equation to solve because you have a direct relationship right here, or a ratio. So again, the first number is 2. So let's go ahead and just stick it here. That means the top is going to be inches. The bottom is going to be 8. Now that's miles. That means this has to be miles too. So the next number that they give us is 8.5 inches. Well, it has to go on top. Now you can put that as 8.5. You can also put it as 8.5. Make it easier to pop in the calculator. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. So we have 2 times x, and then we also have 8.5 times 8. Let's go ahead and put in our calculator 8.5 times 8. We get 68. Uh-oh. 68. And now I want to do the opposite of multiplying by 2, which is to divide by 2. So I want to have 68. I want to divide that by 2. Oops. That's going to leave me with 34. So that means I would actually have 34 miles.